transfer window. I know you love it. There's been lots of talk and reports about the future of Ben Gibson. Can you tell us what the situation is with him at the moment?
Nothing's changed from whatever I said previously. We're not under any pressure at all to think of players going out. It'll be a decision that we make rather than having to make it. So that's a better position. We've been in that position for the last few years, obviously, but that's a much stronger position than we've been in, certainly for the first few years I was here.
He's not played a great deal of football. How happy is he with the situation?
He's happy as players can be, trying to treat them right, trying to get them as much time as we can. But there is a challenge within that, of course. Players want to play. All players want to play. They certainly should want to play. We've got other players here as well who haven't played as much as they'd like to play. But that's the challenge of being at a football club. You sign for a club to work hard, which he certainly does work hard, to try and be part of what it is. And it's not an easy task. If other players have been playing well, which I think the centre-halves here, mainly obviously Ben and Tarks, have done very well. So that's the challenge, is trying to get your chance to go and play.
Would you need to find a replacement this month if he was to be allowed to go?
Well, as I've just said, I thought I made it clear, obviously not. We're not under any pressure to get rid of anyone. So if the decision comes that we need to make something, then we'd certainly look, but we're not in that situation at the minute.
How are things coming along with trying to recruit players the other way, bringing players in?
Fantastically well. It's an easy situation, as you know. So we've got 27 lined up, and I think we're going to sign 26 of them.
Dale Fry is one that's been talked about a lot.
There's many players we've been linked with.
Every
manager's linked. Even though I kind of joke about it, every manager's linked with every player, even more so now. The growth in the media, as we all know, over the last certainly 5 years, if not 10 years, with social media, everyone's linked with everyone constantly. It just tickles me. Some of the ones we've been linked with do tickle me. It's not an easy task getting money out of this club, and we're linked with players who are like 20 million and all that. That always tickles me. But that's just the way it is. Everyone's linked with everyone now.
What about the squad you got at the moment? Any update on the injury front? Ashley Barnes, for example.
Well, Barnes are going well. He had his surgery. They're happy with how it went. Excuse me. Straightforward. The diagnosis is one thing, but when they operate, straightforward from the knowledge I've got on that, and he'll just recover as per norm now. Johan's had a good few days. I'll find out more today. He's got a chance of coming back into figuring. I'd certainly hope by the weekend he could figure in some capacity. And he's got a chance tomorrow of figuring at least, or being around it, which is better news. And really now, we're kind of back, hopefully, to that one where we're trying to get players more sort of sharpness and true fitness after another spate of injuries. So we're hopeful that starts to happen again.
Good result, obviously, at the weekend. I know you always look at performance. Was there anything in that performance that significantly improved from some of the previous matches?
I think the main thing, was that, I mentioned afterwards, the mentality was there anyway, but you've got to add in the quality of performance. I thought second half particularly, I thought we played pretty well first half, but second half I thought was a strong performance. And I think the one detail that counts is it's always one of them strange things. When you centre forwards, or anyone's centre forwards player, they say, the forwards are on fire, or whatever terminology. Our keeper played well, but it's almost like, the keeper had to play well. He's allowed to. I was interested in that. It's like, the keeper had to play well, though. If he didn't play well, they wouldn't have got a result. And you're like, he's part of the team, He's allowed to play well. So I actually consider that as a real positive. You hope for your keeper to not have much to do. But when they do have something to do, then they do their job. And I thought he did it very well. So that's part of a team, and I actually like that. I think that deserves as much credit as centre forwards being on fire, or whatever the terminology was. So I look at that maybe slightly differently than others. But I thought as a team coming out of a tough run, that was really my measurement of how the team performed, because coming out of a tough run, some up and down moments in the games, and I thought it was a more consistent performance throughout the 90 odd minutes against a very good side actually. Unlikely you're going to stop Leicester at the minute from creating something, but you've got to do the right things at the right times, and we did.
Speaking about Nick, he's been quite open about his, wanting to do well for England this year and get himself in the European squad for the summer. I suppose performances like that don't do him any harm, do they?
No, he's still learning. I think he's still improving. He's for a big fella, he's sharp around especially his frame, if you like. He can move quickly. He's agile. Such a big fella, and he comes off his line well and comes to take crosses, and he's always active with that. He's aggressive in his thinking with that. So he continues to perform, and he continues to sort of round into a mature keeper. I've always said, in my opinion, keepers and centre halves particularly, They take a bit longer, I always find, to mature into what they become. So I think he's in a really, really good place at the minute, and he continues to improve.
What have you made of Manchester United this season? I know you've played them once and obviously looking on from afar.
Yeah, I think they're still a good side. Obviously, they've still got some very good players. I think they're in some form of transition. I think it is interesting to see that even the top clubs, with the power they have, they still have these spells where they're remoulding it, or changing things. And Ollie will be doing that now. It does take time, and I think it's taken a big transition from Sir Alex, to where it is now, and it continues to be that. So I think. For them, it's interesting. For me, we have to look at that all the time, constantly. How can we keep remoulding, re-improving? And they've got to look at that, or seemingly, from the outside looking in, it looks like they're doing that now. Not an easy task, even at their level, even with their financing, with their power to attract players. It's not easy to find a way of rebalancing, re-energising, rejigging your squad every year. And, of course, their demand is to be right at the top. They're not currently there, but they've shown signs, they've shown patches of being a very, very good side. So still a tough task going to Old Trafford, in my opinion.
They will be without their standout player of the season in Marcus Rashford. Does that change the way they play when he's not in the team?
Well, it's an interesting one with Rashford, I think, because he's become the standout. I think early season, I thought there was quite a lot of question marks about him, actually. But I know it's an instant business now, and he's a very good player. I think they've got a number of very effective players. They have pace, they can work on the counter. And like I say, I said about ourselves, I don't think any team's always a million miles away from good performances. And they're certainly not. No, I think it looks to me like they're rebalancing, regrouping, re-energising, whatever the words they you can use from the outside looking in. Always looking, it seems, to find the signings or the next signings they think can make them back into a force. But I don't think they're a million miles away, personally. And Ollie's doing a good job in staying calm throughout that period of finding the right players, finding the right mixtures, to be successful. And obviously injuries to very good players like Marcus Rashford are not helpful, of course, for them. Might be helpful for us, who knows? That'd be pleasant if it is.
Thank you.
Sean, you've had some decent results at Old Trafford, decent performances. A lot of people talk about now the fear factor not being there. What's your view on that?
Well, I think that builds over time from success, and I think everyone knew, when Sir Alex was there, it was a very tough place to go, statistically as well as anything, and them extra minutes they used to get. So, it's I don't think it's less fear. I think they're still a very good side. I think their record at home remains very strong generally. But I just think it's a winning mentality. It's like Liverpool have it at the minute. Liverpool have not an away, by the way, as well for Liverpool at the minute, but, their home base at the minute. People think it's, unlikely anyone gets anything. So it's built over performances. It's built over that winning mentality that comes with winning a lot, obviously. They've had a few more bumps in the road, Man United, but it's still a tough place to go.
They've given a lot of young players a chance this season. What have you made of the likes of Greenwood and Brandon Williams?
Yeah, I mean, speaking to their staff the last time, I think they've been happy with some of the breakthrough performers and players, whether it's like him or ones who have been sort of on the edge and then coming through a bit more with a bit more strength. And that is part of their process, I think, or it seems to be from the outside looking in. I think we all know they've still got financial power and the power of the badge to sign players, but it looks to me they're trying to reblend it again and find kind of a similar maybe pathway they've had before with a number of young players coming through, but equally some real strong players and some real experience in the group as well. But it does, the interesting thing for me, it does take time. It shows you even at that level with Man United, the badge, the power, the financial power, it does take time to remould things and get a unit that can be successful. And at Liverpool, we're all massive fans of Liverpool and the manager there, rightly so. It's been 3, 4, 5, pushing 5 years to get that to where it is now, as fantastic as it is at the moment, but it has taken time, And I think it's Liverpool have managed to allow that period for that manager. Whether Man U allow that period for Ole, I don't know. But it is interesting for me that even with all that power, even with everything that comes with Man United, it still takes time to form a real winning unit.
Just finally from me, Ollie's been criticised at times for that sort of relaxed style he has and sometimes sort of smiling in interviews after defeats. How important do you think it is to just be yourself as a manager?
Well, you know what, you can't win. The most obvious one for me was Sven. When Sven was England manager, they said the cool Swede, it was amazing. He was super cool under all circumstances. And at the end, they said he shows no emotion, he's not interested. So how do you win that one? It's an impossible thing to win. I think personally, be yourself. It's, you know, I try and be authentic with my views, my answers, and try and be as honest as you possibly can. It's not easy. Some stuff is so private you can't be. That's my style. I leave others to decide what they want to do. You know, tell it as you see it. In my case, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you get a bit of heat, but that's the way it goes.
Morning, Sean.
Morning.
Just on going back to January, on Ben Gibson, you said there's obviously no pressure to sell him or indeed anybody else. Have you fielded any sort of calls, bids, inquiries for Ben or any of the other players?
We've had various inquiries for various players of all levels.
That's cleared that up. How do you deal with? You said there as well. All players will want to play. How do you, as a manager, deal with someone who's not played as often as they would like, whether that be Ben or anybody else? And then
you try and be well. The first port of call is their honesty as players, and someone like Gibbo's not short of that. He knows when players are playing well, as all players do. The challenge more comes quite obviously if the team are not performing as well or not winning. Because there's more question marks from the players that are not playing. Then it's the challenge of players have always got question marks till they go in, and then it's like, well, go on then. You know, that challenge for them, I mean. And trying to find the right amount of appropriate training to get them ready to be ready to perform. And then when they do, it is mostly a question of, well, there's the shirt, you've got to take it, you know, and that is the name of the game. Generally speaking, of course, there's a bit more detail than that. So finding the right amount of game time for them all to have a challenge is difficult. I mean, more so over the last few years, the cup games have been used for that. But then guess what? If that goes wrong, you get heavily questioned for it going wrong. If it goes right, no one really says much. So that's not that helpful in a way, from the outside looking in, of course. And I think that the Premier League's become so powerful that you are just constantly trying to pick the team that can win. I mean, there's not even a window where you might go, well, look, we can have a look at things, we can change things. You know, for a club like ourselves, we probably have one season, when we finished 7th, when, you know, from whatever date it was, but kind of late January, when you're more or less hedging your bets that you've done as regards the first challenge, which is being the Premier League. And then you might get them windows to change styles, change systems, change players, and on a more free basis, if you like. So it's not easy getting them game time, basically. And you do so when you can, either for you want to change it and they're doing very well, or a chance comes. And you know, we saw that on Saturday. I said with Barnsley going down, it's another chance now for another player to go and really grip hold of what's going on. And in that case on Saturday, it was Jay Rodriguez who performed very well against Leicester.
Is Ben 100% fit now? Because obviously injuries haven't helped him either.
No, they haven't. He's had a tough time with injuries, and that obviously affects people at football clubs anyway.
Is he back fully fit now after?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, other than real fitness and real sharpness.
And obviously on players bringing in, we all know how tough that is. Do you, just by the nature of the January window, expect any deals to be done late on once?
I've said all along, I think it's unlikely. You know, the true finance available, I'm never quite sure of. So I don't know where that lives as regards the power side of things. And it still comes down to alignment, whichever way you look at it. As I just suggested about Man United, they've got the badge, they've got the gloss, they've got the amazing stadium, they've got the financial power, and they can't always get the players they want. So when you put it in our terms, it's very difficult.
I guess the nature of it, with there being a deadline of January the 31st, if, to use United as an example, they're struggling to get deals over the line, the domino effect, I guess, would lead to maybe more transfers being done in the last 2-3 days than previous sort of
it can do. It doesn't always mean it's going to. The thing that wins the day usually is money. Simple as that. You know, sometimes a twist, sometimes alignment, sometimes, you know, you see swap deals and loan deals, but very rarely is it something without finance. So whatever way you look at it, in the Premier League particularly, you often do need finance.
And going back to Sunday and that performance against Leicester, I get that just reinforces that, you know, the players you've got here are Premier League quality players who can go out and perform.
No, what it reinforced to me, that you've got to perform. It's irrelevant what players you've got. You've got to perform. Them players, whatever group you've got, have to perform at their maximum or as close as they can to it. because it's an unforgiving league. You know, we've been through a tough run. We come out with what I felt was a good performance, particularly the second half against Leicester. We've got obviously another big game coming over at Old Trafford. We've got a cup game and then a small break. Then you've got Arsenal. You know, it's relentless. So I think for me, it still comes back to performance levels. I've spoken about it consistently since I've been here as manager. It's always the first marker, and I spoke to the players about it, getting back to a performance level. On this occasion, it got us a result. We've got to keep doing that.
And just lastly, you spoke after the game about Ben Mee's header for the first goal, and you've spoken at length previously about the importance of sort of set pieces. Quite often you find Ben Mee at the back post or round the back with corners and free kicks. Is there an element of you that thinks, I wish we could get more goals from the centre halves in that area, given the...
No, it's not easy. When you look at the stats and facts of set pieces, it's not an easy task scoring from them. I think we've done well with it. I think we've defended both boxes, defended or attacked both boxes pretty well over my time here, and it continues to be something that's of use, of course. Statistically, it doesn't actually vary as much as you think. You know, even with the change of football and the foresight of football being, you know, everyone has to pass it rather than, knock it forward, or rather than play long ball, or whatever term you wish to use. But statistically, set pieces across the board still are in that kind of band of, anything between sort of 25, 30, 32% of goals. Therefore, they have to be considered part of the game and an important part.
Thanks.
Okay, cameras off, please.